So before I start, I wanted to know like how many of you are on social media or like kind of like feed yourself with social media on a daily basis? And how many of you like are interested in photography? Okay, that's why we're here. And how many of you are photographers? Oh, okay. Then the spotlight is on you then. Okay, yes. So yeah, today's talk, really grateful for Bursa Malaysia to talk about basically harnessing power of visual storytelling in digital era, because I do believe that nowadays, like back in the days where social media wasn't at all about, then we have like the Kardashians, having like their life being documented. But now I think with TikTok, Reels and all, we all have something to share. Like any day, if one day you post something viral and then all eyes on you. So for me, when it comes to utilizing what we have now, so in terms of me being a photographer, I always believe that the best camera is the one on your hand. When it's on your hand means your phone. So the best tool is always on your phone because that's what you have. And for some people that I do believe that you don't need the most chunkiest camera. It will help you in terms of your career path and what you set to do. But I think if you want to start off something by telling story, the ones that you always have is the ones on your hand. And if you have two, then more pressure on you. Yeah, you have two. Three, okay. Yeah, and I do think that all of us are storytellers, all of us have something to tell, and it's a way of using, like, the tool is given to you now. Like anyone can access to a phone right now, to an iPad right now, or such, but it's up to you, how do you want to use it? So yes, a little story. Let me know if you can see so that I won't walk, because I have a marker here. And then, yeah, the digital god asked me to stand right here. But if you want me to move, I can. So yes, my name is Annice Lyn. And yeah, everybody has a background story of how I came about. So in terms of how I came about as a photographer, I started out as a figure skater. And then in terms of figure skating back in the years, which let me do the math, I think almost 10 years, 15 years ago, that figure skating obviously is a challenge because we live in Malaysia, right? Malaysia is a tropical equatorial climate country, and then figure skating is definitely on tier bottom when it comes to sports. So tier 1 is obviously badminton. So tier 5, tier 3 figure skating. And then at that time I remember that I trained really hard for each competition, as in like Skate Malaysia, Skate Asia, and we all train months for just that 1 minute of performance. And I will always save my pocket money to buy photos and buy videos, because yeah, it's something I do. And I realized that at that moment, when the photography is great, but I always feel like the hardest element I train maybe for the double XL or triple salchow, but that one is Olympic level, but like single salchow, when you take off and jump, those moments were missed. So I do realize that anyone can be a photographer, but it takes the right person to be the right photographer, right time, right place, and for the right job. So that's where I realized that if there's an issue and if there's no one to address it, or I feel like, oh, maybe I can take on it because I used to be a figure skater, and then slowly from there and see how I can contribute back to the community. So in terms of coming to figure skating also, the shelf life is not much, and according to the parents, it's not an economical sport also. So when I went to college, and they say, you know what, let's be real, you really have to pick one, because figure skating for youth sports, there's no ROI, and we are here burning money already. So that's where, for us, once we graduated from there, or my peers, it's either we come back, if you study nutritionist, they will come back and contribute in some way, and some came back as coach. And I realized that, sports media is something that you can look into as well, so that in order, like let's say, to get funding from KBS and all, so why not I document everything, compile it, and then from there work with the association, the Ice Skating Association Malaysia at that time, to garner grants or for programs. Because that's where you use, like, when you use verbally and tell people and they can't really see the bigger picture of it, so why not you take the picture and compile it, and then to convince in terms of brand or tell a story from there. So yeah, it took me trials and error. So for me, I actually have when they say going off to college, I picked the safe route. I picked architecture, so that, yeah, that was a few choice given. But photography has always been in something that I really look into. So aside from graduating from architecture, I also, when it comes to photography, I like to say that I graduated from the University of YouTube and Google. So I self-taught photography from there because all the sources are there. So yeah, and again, when it comes to digital era, all the tools are there. It's just how you make full use of yourself to take time to learn. Yeah, so I started right when I graduate, or the last year of graduation. So you guys do the math in terms of age, but that's okay. Yeah, so from there, pick up workshops, join any available workshops I have. When travel, I try to make full use of it, and as well as taking friends and family, holding them hostage to be my subject when I can, and then slowly branch out to strangers and all. Then in 2019, I worked for Associated Press as their photographer, and then, sorry, wrong date, it's 2021. There came the Time Magazine opportunity. So yeah, so nothing really comes like over time. So when it comes to learning and be willing to learn as well, and using what you can have at that time. So for me, I thought I started to want to fall in love with my sports as well, because the reason why I retired is it's not economical sports, and then schedule juggling, and also both of my right knee was dislocated in 2015. My right knee was dislocated, so I was forced to retire as well. So that's where I see another opportunity to be part of the sports again, which is during competition or during practice, I will go to the ring to photograph my juniors with Julian Yi. He's the first figure skating Olympian. So everybody, I feel like everybody, wherever you are, no matter you are, you play a part in giving the community or inspiring your fellow peers and community. So there and then in 2015, I thought black and white is cool. 2015 or so, I thought the color splat is cool also. So I just slowly discovered in 2016, knowing that what position is good. Like for me, I didn't know that there's an international rule that how you use visual to represent. In terms of like 2016, Evelyn right there, her crotch is facing to the camera. So that's something that you need to adjust, or in terms of learning that selecting visual, how you hand over to your client is a different thing. Yeah. So yeah, then slowly you can see how, then for me, it's one thing in Malaysia that you cannot experience is pair skating, because super halal, right? But then yeah, so this is something that I wanted to tap into. When it comes to pair skating, there's two subjects you need to focus from there. Yeah, so which brings to the recent years of projects. Like I think two projects that I will always look back with a grateful heart in terms of throughout this journey. It's being able to work with 13 Malaysian in total for documenting the artist, a Malaysian artist. Her name is Red Hong Yi. So I'm not sure a few of you who are, Red Hong Yi uses everyday objects to make an art. So for this, she uses 55,000 green tits matchsticks. So the hands represent, so in terms of like using visual, how do you capture attention to people? It's where the idea of coming to matchsticks, because the editor come to us like, okay, what we need to do a piece on global warming. So where the hands are is actually her and her artist assistant. So the hands is us. So none of this was Photoshop. So it took 2 months to plan, 2 weeks to put the matchsticks in every hole, and then 20 minutes throughout the duration of letting it subside, but 2 minutes to actually burn everything. So that the hands which represent us, when you burn one end, it affects everything. Yeah. And where the fire were pointed are the place that is affected by the burning bushfire, like such as Australia and so. So moving on is 2021 or so, the same year, I have an opportunity to cover a COVID Olympic. So where majority of you, I don't know what happened here in Malaysia. I heard there's a second lockdown at the moment, back in July. So that's where all of us were there. The athletes were well prepared, but when you were there, I also realized that although you are physically prepared, you mentally have to be strong as well. So yes, during the whole process, in terms of 2015, this was then how I shot it. And then I realized that it takes years for you to, I think, through research, through learning, and then this is the latest one. Yeah. So yes, the power of visual storytelling. So for me, so nowadays, how many of you have like really experienced this? In this particular photo I've taken at Pyeongchang in 2018 February, I always feel like the reason why I took this photo is when I remember it was like a speed skating competition going on. Then sometimes I realized that as a photographer, you take a step back in a moment to actually take a look behind. That is something that in terms of the audience that you won't want to miss. So this photo really personally resonates with me, and it's one of my favorite photos because to be honest, there's no right and wrong in this photo. Like same as you, it really depends and boils down how you seize the moment. Here on the right, on my right, you have a lady just really soaking in the moment, and then on the left, you use your phone to document it. So again, there's no right and not wrong, but that one is completely up to your interpretation at that point. Yeah. So yes, when it comes to photography in the digital era, or how all of us are constantly using your phone to document things, I do believe that how your input and output is very crucial, and I hope you guys really will be intentional about it. And to me, photography is a universal language. When I say photography is a universal language, because over the years as I photograph, in terms of topics, I do a mixed range of sports. I specialize in a few sports, which is badminton and figure skating, and as well as documenting, working with NGO to document their humanitarian aid or their living situation. So for me, I felt as a photographer, sometimes one day you could be covering the FIFA World Cup, the Wimbledon, and then after a few weeks later, you will be covering you'll be maybe post to Gerik Perak, and then stay there for 3 days or 4 days or 1 week with the Orang Asli. So for me, photography really holds no boundary in regards to anyone's social status. So for us, it's like, for us or for you, and maybe one day you find yourself in this situation, that this photo is taken for Bloomberg, stated at PJ, I think along Jalan University there. So I think Ryan and Minho was behind. So I find it very interesting in terms of like time. It really frees time, and then you also see a situation that there's a new development, and then there's more of a rundown living situation there. And then one thing I feel like it really grounded you as well as a photographer. You are really on the fence in the middle, because for me, it really hit me hard personally when in 2021, so it was branded as Tokyo 2020, but it was delayed 1 year due to the COVID. So that year, it really rooted me as a photographer, and I told myself that I think this is something that I would like to continue to do as long as the world will have me, because photography, one thing, is a very mental and physical taxing job. So I think the mental wise is where I really realized quite quickly in my career that in July, August, you may be at the most engaging and all eyeballs on events, which is the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics. But then after that, I came back, then did the 14 days of quarantine, 1 day back home just to rest. Then after that, September, I was posted in Sabah for about 2 weeks. I was embedded with KKM to document the complexity of rural vaccination. So there's a sign of, like for us, when it also really humbles me down in a sense of like, for us in Malaysia, we all line up, we all macam like buying, I remember like when KG announced, we are like macam buying concert tickets just to get all the AZECs that we can, and then line up at, I think, PWTC, or I don't know where else you guys line up, or MyTech. to get our vaccination. It was quite comfortable, we can grab that and all, but when it comes to going to Sabah, they were injecting CanSino because there are a lot of stateless people there that you can trace it back for a double jab. So that's where we also need their consent. So it's rather be it going through Pulau Gaya, through the speedboat, or to certain kampongs that you need a helicopter to get through. Yeah, so these are the things that it really humbles you down in terms of like few months, like 1 month you're here, and then next month you're at somewhere else. So for me, when it comes to being a universal language, like for us, I hope that we can see in a way that both are important stuff, both are important topics. But for us as photographer, we are still using the same energy to capture that. Rather be today you are photographing someone of profile, like Tun Am or Anwar, but which they have a great voice, they already have a great voice, but the next day, maybe you are photographing an indigenous community that needed your voice to help to elevate it. So I think overall, I want you guys to look in a point that whatever you have, whatever tool you have, be it a phone or whatnot, like nowadays you guys argue road rage, then you can post something online, then that's your voice, but also use it intentionally how you want your community, your friends and family, or your peers to receive what you do. Yeah. So these are a few visuals. I would just like to tap it and go on to let you know that in terms of in terms of photography serving as a universal language, one day you can you see? All right. Okay. So in terms of being a universal language, as in like this one was the Victoria's Secret project that covers a few because Victoria's Secret is always very heavily at US, so it's nice that they actually recognize Southeast Asia beauty and wanting to actually have a campaign in Southeast Asia. So this is the work that I do, but then it could be another day, you could be at Pulau Gaya, so photographing a vaccination. So either that, or you can be at Budapest, photographing a world championship. And then after that, you find yourself in the most humble way as possible at Ipoh at Gerik Perak with the kids, with the Orang Asli kids. So yeah. So this was a story that I did at Selayang with NPR, documenting food insecurity for during COVID. So the project was quite interesting. That what we do is we go to the community and then interview one family or two, and to document them, like in terms of asking them to cook in front of you, and you did and we'll do a photo story out of it. So we will ask them question like, okay, before COVID, what were you eating? Or during COVID, what were you eating? So during COVID, they were only eating lentils, dal, and rice to give themselves a little bit of flavor. Then the meat, they couldn't afford meat, so the only meat they can afford is like maybe mini fishes and all, or just a few pieces of chicken fillet. Then they give it to the kids. So one thing I love about this project with Muhammad and his family, because the wife is Rohingya. So one of the things I asked, like the last question was, if you can afford anything now, what do you want? And he said KFC. So I promised him that when the story came out, I don't do this for a lot of people, but sometimes it really resonates. So I gathered a few friends, donated my salary for this project particularly, and then yes, I brought 3 buckets of KFC and visit him. Yeah. And because I think the fact that he was so open and honest of sharing his fridge, so sometimes I realize that when you photograph people or getting to know people's story, or someone tell you their financial trouble or their family trouble, it really feels like they see you as a safe space to even open, instead of like immediately you go like, why you like that? So I hope that through these examples, how you approach everyday life, your relatives, your family, when someone tells you something, it could be really they trust you in a way. So for me, I saw his fridge, it was pretty empty, and unfortunately pretty filthy. So I thought that, buying 3 buckets of KFC, the best food is leftovers, right? So one thing I learned as well, in every assignment, I always feel like there's something to learn from. So one thing I learned is, on that day, he shared all the KFC to his entire flatmate. And then he left, so he only left like, I think, one bucket. And then he asked me to join him for lunch. So that is something that is very humbling as well. So it's something I learned also, that sometimes you have the littlest thing you have, but you have the most biggest heart. Yeah. And from then on, so we are talking about the mental wise as well as your mental shift, jump. And then in times I was assigned to shoot like Michelle's Yours Homecoming. Yeah. So this homecoming is all, when it comes to photography, for me, I always implement keyword as well. Like what do I need to shoot today? Is Michelle Yours Homecoming? So sometimes we also take a step back and see. And then where all your media friends are down there, I decided, because it was at Pavilion, descend the stairs, anyone been to Pavilion? So I decided to take a step back to station myself at the escalator up there to photograph, like one photo tell the story. Yeah. So I think as the career progressed, I realized that, it's very humbling that in our life, or our daily life, there's a lot of things that, in terms of speaking of birthright or what, there's a lot of things that is same. Sometimes it may be same, but very different in terms of the opportunities we have, or counting our blessings in life. So here there is three boys from the Orang Asli village in Gerik. So they were playing bola sepak, football, at their village. Then also when I start piecing my photos as well, or assignment I had, you can see that, it's actually quite different as well. Like where this team England, they are photographing, then they are playing football as well. So same as where this Orang Asli boy is playing badminton. And then, you have Excelson here. So one thing also is not about you photographing, but the photographs you photograph and how you piece it as well. Yeah, so it's same but different. Everyone with me? Okay. If you're not, you can just raise up your hand, it's fine. Yeah, so when it comes down to this, like photography, I think photography has the power and magnitude to inform, reform, impact and unite people. That's also a thing that why we are here today. And as a photographer, when I first started out, honestly, I wanted to take the best photo, or in terms of definition, the prettiest photo. But now I feel like if that photo can stir a conversation, or let's say if I put it on Instagram, and then you get a group of people arguing, I feel like I did my job already. Yeah. And yes, notification has been turned off also. So when it comes to visual storytelling, there's a few things you need to consider. So for me, I've learned it in a way that to get your basics right, and allow the rest is allow magic to flow through. So for me, when it comes to photography, so the technical side is always like know your gears well. I mean, photographer, you know, right? Like in terms of get your shutter speed right, your aperture, your ISO. And also, I think in life also know that what you can control and what you can't control. So what you can control is definitely the technical settings out of it, but what you can't control is the moments that happen right in front of you and how you tackle it. So the first thing first is understanding your technique, is identifying your story in terms of determine the narrative of your story. It could be a personal story. You can always start from like if you guys have kids, your nieces or your grandma. One of the things that personally I want to do is if ever one of my grandma is in the state of like, almost have to go. So that is something that I want to document it because maybe it's how I cope with it. That is one of the things I wanted to do. So yeah, or cultural exploration is really up to your idea or how you feel comfortable, how you want to interpret it. And also when it comes to this, also often ask yourself, your 5W 1H is who, what, when, where, why. Like, who are you photographing, or who are you documenting, or who are you addressing, why you want to do this, and when does these things happen? Where is this going? Like, where is this going, like, in terms of your output, where you want it to go, or you want to put it on TikTok, you want to put it on LinkedIn, you want to put it on Instagram, like, where do you want to reach, and how do you do it? Yeah. And I think oftentimes also, like, what is your purpose? Like, what and why do you want to do this to begin with? Yeah. So usually when it comes to photos or any project, I'll ask myself, and if I can answer half of this, and I will work it from there. Yeah. Yeah. So this is one of the story. This is Miss Honey. I was asked by our organization to document her living situation. So Miss Honey has she tends to hoard as well. So this is something that the first thing I go in, like, or just to understand why is she doing, how did she get to this point? And also it's very interesting that her bed, wherever she stays, she's facing her old self. So that's where she described to me that, oh, I actually miss my old self and I don't know how I get here. So that's something that it really ponders you, also, so humbles you in terms of others' living situation too. I think the next one is create a connection, like be it between you and your viewer or your subject, as well as to create an intimate moment to highlight, yeah, when it comes to like universal language. So yes, how, in terms of connect, so when it comes to, I think one of the reasons why I myself become a photographer, I'm not sure about you, sir, or anyone who wants to, because we are all introverts, so we all like to hide behind the camera. I don't like to talk to people once upon a time. So yes, so in terms of that, we also, I think introverts are the most passionate people as well. I mean, extrovert equally, so don't throw tomatoes at me. But in terms of me starting as a photographer, I wanted to be able to connect with people, but I don't know how. So the camera served as a tool for me, because every time when I hold the camera up to an auntie, then she'll be like, wow, okay. Then that's how I started. So these are two of my baby sister. So one thing I highly encourage anyone who wanted to start out photography, as simple as it is, to, I think, to work with your subject, make your subject at ease, and to form a connection. So I also realized that as you photograph a subject, as they grow, you grow as well. So in terms of I think this was when they're 1 year old, which is quite a long time ago, and then compared to they're 10 at a point, maybe there's like a 9 years gap. So you also found out that you as a storyteller, then when you take photo, it's like, what is this with color pop and sepia? Like, I thought the editing is very cool. I mean, maybe that's the coolness I thought 9 years ago or 10 years ago. But then as you grow, as your subject grow, you grow as well. So you can see the difference of the photos. Yeah, in terms of connecting with your subject, one of the quote I really love from one of my favorite photographer, Annie Lyn. Anyone know Annie Lyn? No, it's okay. We have the same initial. That's all you need to know. So yeah. So yes, capturing defining moments. So however you want to start, or you don't know where to start, is really start with your family and friends, because they are the people who will put up with you, have patience with you. They are the people who are willing to, you just like put them in front, and then and discover what it means to be close to your work and be intimate with your subject. So yeah, I started off with my baby sister. God bless all my family. They really have patience with me. So I use them as my lab rat, guinea pig, whatever you want to say. So yeah, this is something that I think in a sense of it also creates time for you to bond as well. So one of the things in terms of techniques is also sense of place. Let's say maybe you don't like shooting human because they stress you out. humans, relative, everyone gives you problem, right? So maybe you don't want, and then it's fine. So why not you just photograph? I think it could be any how you want it and any how you want it. So it could be sense of place, be it your childhood places. For this one, this is a mini project I did during COVID because I can't sit still. But I also, just to let you know, I permit to work during COVID in terms of documenting COVID. So this is something like during like when I need to get grocery or somewhere, a kedai runcit near my place. And I feel like with us at this digital era, we always pass by like your favorite childhood, like the places that your grandma used to bring you, your pasar, and you never really pay attention to the uncle around you. Or so this gives a good practice, like even through phones also, you have a series of these collection, like all your childhood places maybe at Pudu Market, at Kinrara. So yeah, this is like a rattan workshop at Old Klang Road. Yeah. This is somewhere at Puchong, where they repolyester cushions. Yeah, so for me, these are the place that it could be used to near my tuition center. My tuition center used to be second floor, and I never pay attention because maybe last time my mom dropped me, then I was just on my way straight to tuition. But this time, coming to places that you feel like, you never really pay attention to. So I think photography also allows you to do, in a sense of like, there's no format for this. It could be like, just use your phone straight up. And then maybe sometimes one photo doesn't make any sense or meaning to you, but slowly when you see it from a macro perspective, like when you zoom out, like, actually I have 12, 20 series photo of this, and then that speaks to you. Yeah. Another thing is focus on the details in life. Yeah, pay attention. Are you guys paying attention? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pay attention to small details, and then perhaps can add depth and context to your story. So, and also help viewers to connect with your narrative, to understand you better, and you also understand what you want to do better as well. Yeah, so these are the things that in terms of paying attention to details when it comes to photography, like moments and actions. Yeah, this one, safe to say, I chased a lot of pigeons at the time, so yeah. Motion blur, maybe you slower your shutter speed down to capture things that, like things that you can control, you can't control humans. Then you decided to actually freeze the dead objects and allow the live object pass through. Create layers and depth when you see things in layers. In silhouettes, if let's say there's backlit and all. Decisive, quirky moments. This one, it was at Guai Zai Hong 2 years ago, 2022, during Autumn Festival. Yeah, during the Mooncake Autumn Festival. So yeah, this is very interesting that everybody, I think it was like the Instagrammable street at Guai Zai Hong, everybody was shooting. So I just took a step back like, everybody is shooting, so why not I photograph like this? And this was a project for Greenpeace, sorry. Yeah, for me it's be intentional in what you want to show. For me it's I saw the poster that the mom is carrying a plant, and just so happened I saw a plant that is quite similar to that. So it depends how you want to frame things and how you want to be creative and show people what you're seeing. Yeah, observe and interact. Yep, and one of the techniques also is about capture emotion. Sorry if it's a lot to take in, but in terms of, he know what to do in terms of taking picture of the slides. Okay, this one clearly, this is how all of us feel during COVID, so yeah. And also photographing portraits, like if some of you really like portraits, you can photograph. This one it's called an environmental portrait. It's not just Mr. Ching the haberdasher, but also photographing like what he's doing, and also give information and give certain contextual information for your audience too. Yeah, and another thing is use composition and techniques. So in the sense of when it comes to art or any sense, there's a technicality side and there's an artistic side. So I think this one, as any photographer will know, the rule of third. So in order to do that, I would, everybody, if you can, take your phone out. Well, this is the first talk, everybody can take their phone out. So anyway, yeah. So one thing I love, rule of third, like I say, get your basic right and allow room for magic. So if your phone, if Android, I'm sorry, I'm not an Android pro here, but if it's Apple or anyone, you guys, you do realize if you can turn your grid lines on from your camera, so that will help you a lot after today. So if you happen to don't have your grid lines from your camera, from your phone camera, it's very helpful if you have them on. They serve as like a starting point, a training wheel, because I still use it at all times. So what this rule of third helps you with, it helps you like align things. So a lot of people I know that, even my sister, my grandma, they will always say that, no worries, can edit after. But what if you shoot it and you shoot it right at the first go? That saves you a lot of time as well. And imagine you can just like straight away post it up on Facebook and all. Yeah. So this rule of thirds really help you in the sense of like kind of like straighten up your composition, make your life easier. So yeah. So how you get like a firm photo? It's this is where the rule of third comes and help you with. So for me, with my architecture degree, I also apply it in photography as well. So usually, how this is a photo in 2019 during Ramadan. I shot it for Associated Press. So this is the photo that I'm very grateful for the initial degree I have. They come really useful. So this is what people see with the Islamic country and Islamic architecture elements and all. This is what I see. Yeah. While shooting. Yeah. So I was just waiting for a boy, especially with Songket, to pass by. But also understanding, I think, in the sense of like understanding the rule of third, understanding the basic, the composition, and then I think the fact that allowing room for magic is for the boy to pass by. And this is, so this particular photo is in 2021, January. So it's the first, this one is the first assignment I had for Getty Image. I was under probation at that time. So imagine the amount of pressure I had with me. And then this one is about Chinese New Year, because I believe that in 2021, Chinese New Year, all of you still under lockdown, right? So you can visit family. For me, I think it's a bonus. It's the only time that I don't have to visit my aunties. I know, right? Yeah. So this is at Tin Hao Gong, and then the keyword when it comes to like my role as a photojournalist, at that time it was capturing Chinese New Year COVID for a broader audience, for like subscribers such as CNN and New York Times and all. So I need to show my photo editor, which for the subscriber and the client, that what is happening during Chinese New Year in the midst of COVID. So this was like so I learned that Tin Hao Gong, everybody on the Cho one, the first day, everybody have to go and pay their respects, and yeah. And then in every 30 minutes, that is that guy over there to kind of clear all our germs away. So yeah. So again, these are the things I can't control. I can't control the output of, I'm not sure what's that thing called anymore, because I really put the COVID days behind. Does anyone know what it calls? No? Okay, never mind. It doesn't matter. It's 4 years ago. It's fine. So yes. So for me, I compose it properly and then allow room for magic. So this is what you guys will see, and this is what I see initially. Yeah. So this was in 2021 September at Sabah, And when it comes to all this decisive moment and all, you also have to think quick as well. You have to be quick. So for me, is what do you guys see, and this is what I see in terms of learning, like the rule of third and all. Yeah, so composition is key, but also allow rooms for magic. Yeah. So yeah, these are the moments like during World Yoga Day and during Chinese New Year. This one, it only goes back to like the depth of layers. So in terms of depth of layers, that I clearly hide behind a vendor who is selling the plants. So when it comes to depth of layers, there's probably like 3 layers in terms of like florals, and then how people walking out and about, and then the Guangdi temple. Yeah, and one of the techniques is experiment with lights, because lights is your best friend. So be it tungsten light or whatever light, yeah. So for me, it's like learn how to utilize lights and shadows. And also goes back down to details. Look for lines, patterns, texture, like try to embrace all the beauty in life. Yeah, to recap, if you guys take your phone out and take picture already now. Anyway, yeah. So yes, to recap in terms of techniques and all, first is identify your story, know your 5W and 1H, which is who, what, when, where, why, and how you execute it and what. Create connection, foster connection. The best is to always, the best people are always family. Yes. Okay, you get a sandwich, which is outside. Focusing on details. Be aware, know what's around you, because I do realize that even I myself, when someone tells me stuff, I will always be on the phone, but sometimes it's just nice that to put your phone down to know what's around as well. And then once you foster connection and you focus on the detail, capture emotions. And then also use composition as technique. So don't ever underestimate your phones that I asked you guys to turn on your grid lines. Just learn about it. If not, if you can't get in touch, you always can graduate from the University of Google and YouTube from there. And experiment with lights. So everybody go with me. Get your basic. I cannot hear you. Get your basic. And then allow room for? Yeah. Okay, at least I know you guys are awake, Yeah. So yes, storytelling in the digital era. So what we're doing here as everybody has a phone, when I feel like everybody has a phone, everybody has an account on Facebook or TikTok or whatnot. Even though if you don't have all these accounts, I mean, you at least have a voice of yourself. You never underestimate you yourself can impact a community. And also, with storytelling in the digital era, what you post, what you consume, like especially with the wars going now, is either you're with, like, even you talking to your peers, you also realize that it's either you're with that person or you're against that person. So yes, be intentional about it, use it well, consume it well, try to foster connection between viewer and your subject. It's like diet, you eat, like you are what you eat, right? So yeah. So yes, I think use social media well. And in terms of if you have a story to tell, like I say, tell it well. Because I think that with great, like Uncle Ben say in Spider-Man, any Spider-Man fan here, they say with great powers come great responsibility, but for me it's with great platform comes great responsibility. Yeah. So for me personally, I'm going to show you a few examples that what I consolidate, what I learned over the years. You can see, right? So because I saw all your head is like going left and right. Okay. Yeah, so this is where all the compilation I learned just now, I'll share with you guys in terms of understanding likes, focusing on detail, sense of place. So this is, unfortunately, this kopitiam already closed down, and I forgot what's the street name actually, at Jalan Tun Husin, I think. So this uncle I used to always go, because for me, I'm a huge fan of kaya toast. Anyone a huge fan of kaya toast here? Yeah. So yeah, this one was actually situated next to Nico Nico. Anyone knows Nico Nico at Chinatown? So the shop right next to Nico Nico. And for me, it stirred my curiosity, like why would people, nothing against Nico Nico, I love Nico Nico because it's recorded, I'm just gonna say that. But personally, I love a good matcha, but I also wonder that why would people line up, in our generation, line up at outside matcha store that costs about 16, 17 per cup, and then why is this store completely neglected and maybe have like 100 ringgit sales a day only, yeah, where the rent is like around 5K for a double story shop lot. So that's where I decided to like dine there and also take a look and also understand why. So in our digital era, in terms of photographing, ethical consideration is very important. In terms of like, for me as photojournalists, we hold ethics to our heart very well in terms of like including consent and how do you want to represent, like whatever you shoot, but how would you like to represent, or like potential of image manipulation, especially with AI nowadays. So I think tools are always there, and in terms of how you use it is really up to you. So for me, I decided to ask Uncle Kopitan, his name, he asked me to call him Uncle Kopitan, like, what kind of issue were you facing and all? Yeah, and then for him to actually share his side of the story, like perhaps sometimes like maybe in terms of like why other restaurant is doing well, because maybe they have like good resources, they have good kickstart, or they have social marketing skill, or just like still able to allow him to do what he do, but how do we take it to the next level and approach it? Yeah. So that's where there's this project with Hong Yi came in that was inspired by him after that. So we're doing, this was made out of tea bags in terms of deep dyeing, calculating. So this is where the old and new generation come to see how we can collaborate with things. So I've been going around Chinatown area, so documenting kopitiams and uncle, and then after that, using it as an inspiration to make art, and then to let people know about our culture as well. So this is a project commissioned by World Resort. It's currently at Las Vegas at the Southeast Asia food court. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, when it comes to this, like multimedia integration, like the use of multimedia elements such as videos, audios, interact graphics. So these are the things that is presented to us, and how we, like I say, how we use it is really up to us, how we want to project, how do we want to send a message across. So for one example, it's I have the opportunity to photograph the Tokyo Olympic cover. So this series is the one that I work very closely with the Prestige team. For them, they wanted to, like, let's say for Malaysia, currently there are certain social media, so in a sense of like paraphrasing the headline. Let's say Nur Tapita and Pandalela earlier this year, where they unfortunately did not manage to secure a spot at Paris at the Doha World Aquatic. So you have some headlines which is quite like not forgiving. They say that Nur Tapita or Pandalela failed to secure. So I think these are the words that we also need to take into consideration. Like, yes, they did not secure. It could say that, maybe headlines could say that they did not secure, which is a fact. But then some media will be like, oh, they failed to secure. So sometimes we have to consider like, oh, how do you send a message, but we paraphrase it, not to sugarcoat it, but paraphrase it in an honorable way as well. So working with Prestige also, it comes at the right time that obviously there are no supporters going to the Tokyo Olympics to support our Malaysian contingent. And also, as a cover, initially they wanted to photograph every athlete and Photoshop and become like, you know, the Avenger poster and all. But end up to my surprise, when they used this photo that I captured, it was Farah Ann's bag. So another representation of using multimedia is like how you send a message to Malaysia. So when this cover came out, it's more like the whole Malaysia is on the weight of her shoulder. And it was like 3 seconds before her name was called. And then she performed her, I think that time it was Beam, yeah. So yeah, in terms of using multimedia, how do you project your work, or how do you collaborate with the right people to project your work and send a message to the mass audience? Yeah, so this one I really learned a lot from this. Anyone's familiar with this project during in 2021? Yeah, so yes, this one is particularly targeted. So this one really touched base in a lot of medium in terms of art. So the artwork itself, it's 3 meter times 2 wood with fire retardant on it and with matchsticks. And then that's one medium. And then we have videographers coming in to photograph the behind the scenes. Have any of you watched behind the scenes of this? Yeah. Yeah. And that really sends a message as well. So it's about collaborating with various different like artists itself, as well as videographers and photographers, and it all sends out one message, which is tackling climate change. So one of the things that I always champion is to photograph behind the scenes, like even as athletes, like let's say the Paris Olympic is coming up, and all of you will be getting news next year on the palm of your hand through your phone is who won, who didn't won. But it was very interesting that if any of us or any of you, if you guys know that your niece and nephew are competing and you want to like, hey, I actually want to come during your practices if it's allowed to actually document your behind the scenes and share it. So that is something that is actually nice to be there for them or to see it from a different way, that you don't need to be at the Olympics to make good pictures for some photographers, but you also can be as humble as like going your like neighborhood, or if some of you are moms, soccer moms or dads, soccer dads, basketball, send your kids to school, and then it's nice to actually use your phone to take photos and videos to actually show that, oh, this time you progress, or go back to bond with your children, like, oh, you know, this time you may not kick the right move or whatnot, then how you improve from there. So yeah. So yes, behind the scenes. And then also, like I said just now, like when I talk about sense of place, so sometimes taking one photo may not be as impactful, but sometimes like taking like more than 5, more than 6 or 12, 10, 11, 30 to make a series. So this one was the progression photo we took during the burning of the matchsticks. Yeah. So yeah, this is the actual photo of the chosen and the actual photo. Out of thousands of photos, then it become one. Yeah, so for the Time Magazine project, we actually have 3 commissioned photographers. So we have 3 commissioned photographers. Each photographer have 2 camera bodies. For me, I have 3. I have 1 at the scaffolding. Everybody needs insurance, so I need that. Yeah, so from there on, we narrow down to, from thousands of photos, narrow down to 100, and then like really, it's really like a 1 in a million kind of moment, or shutter clicks that you really boils down to this one photo, and then that serves as the cover and project to the world. Yeah. So yes, there's 13 of us, and which I'm very proud of. All 13 of us, Malaysians, we all serve a different purpose. And we are all artists, be it artists or volunteers or whatnot. But I feel like all of us, doesn't matter, and never underestimate your role as well. We all serve a purpose and be part of this project so that we can able to work with Time Magazine on this, to able to project what the metaphor, or any of you watch behind the scenes, it was available on YouTube also, to tackle climate change. Yeah. Yeah, and last but not least, like I say, try to be encouraged and inspire others with with your platform, and all, because there's a lot of things going on already now. So yeah, with great platform comes great responsibility, and that responsibility is entirely on you. So I think last but not least is personal projects. I think one of the things is personal projects is very important. I used to work I used to work in a design firm, and being a I also understand that being a leader is very important. So I used to work in a design firm where every Monday is actually our off day. And after a period of time, after 1 year, the bosses will be like, let's have an exhibition, or let's just share that off day. What do you actually do for that off day? So I think that no matter what you do in terms of finance, creative, work, construction, or what, it's actually nice to have, to understand, to have a hobby, to actually have a life outside your work too. So for me, being a photographer, come to think of it, I really think I need another hobby outside of photography. But when it comes to photography, I decided to have this as my pocket under my personal project, which means no commission, whatnot. I'm not going to sell this to anyone as well. It's like your personal baby. You have full control. So I think as photographer, a lot of times, understanding what we need to do is bring the funds in, get yourself fit, but also hopefully that you do enough what you need to do to able to do what you want to do in the future. So for me, this project allows me to fail. I think one of the things very important that I wanted to see how I can fail, or what doesn't work, what works as well. So this one is where you are able, I think if you believe in something, and I always feel like if you believe in something, the picture will show. So this is a project focused on sole traders that their children might not want to take over their business. So it started from my optometrist first, because his children doesn't want to be an optometrist. So from there on, I decided to go around my neighborhood or everywhere I travel. I just talk to uncle, because they are the best therapists, right? Internally, you guys agree? Yeah. So yeah, for me as well, it doesn't make sense to me at that point, but after a few times I was like pieced together, like, oh, it actually makes sense. Like why, even my salon auntie, that last time you go, once you went into the salon, then you will smell a pungent of chemical, whereas now you go to salon like 76, 16th Avenue, you go in, then they will come in with a tray of what's it called, Maggie, like if you want to dye your hair for 6 hours, you get cookies, you get Maggie cup noodles, and also it's very different. So there is one thing that I want to revisit and understand that, why is their business dying? Because of what's happening, or what kind of service, or the youngster, what kind of service they are providing now. Yeah. So yeah, because for me personally, I like arts and crafts as well. I decided not everything have to be shown on the screen, or why not I created more like an educational experience like postcards. Yeah. So these are all during COVID projects. Yeah. So I guess that's about it, and also have fun. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your very innovative talk on visual storytelling.
Thank you, sir.
You have covered quite a large number of aspects of photography, and you also stressed that you have spent quite some time on helping people, right? So how you wish, or how I wish, you could have more time for yourself and for your work, so that more people can get help from you. Okay, now how to save time? Okay, in this era of artificial intelligence, with the help of AI tools, a few original photos and images can be used to generate an unlimited number of much better photos and images. So, how do you think you can use AI tools to generate better photos, just based on a few original photos, so that you can have more time to help people? Thank you.
That's a very good question, sir.
Interestingly, my name is Vincent Khoo. I'm a retiree. I've been teaching in a university in computer science for 20 over years. So now I also have time. I've retired for 10 years already. I have lots of time to look into all kinds of my side interests, in particular investment, and now it's photography. So please, your future role in using artificial intelligence tools to help you save time, to help other people. Thank you.
I think first thing first is like utilizing AI, like how you utilize. Are you utilizing within your photo library, or are you utilizing other people's work and jumble it and to make it and call it your own work? And also when it comes to photography, there are genres also. So for now, I can only answer the question. Maybe if we keep in touch in 3 years, my answer will be different. But for now, is when it comes to photojournalism, we need to portray the best the best as in when it comes to best in terms of accuracy. Like let's say with AI generation too, you see like recently they're circling around like Pope or Trump being caught. Or that one sounds very good news, but then it's actually not a fact. So when it comes to photojournalism, I don't think AI is comes to play right now. So what I think AI really comes to play is like, they say that, yeah, these tools are great, but how you use it is another thing. So I think AI, one thing for AI is definitely good for people like, especially artists or director of photography. Let's say they want to pitch to client. How is it possible? How can you utilize these visual and paint a bigger picture for the client in terms of like using AI to paint like storyboards and scene? So yeah.
What is the idea or thought that makes you this is it or just randomly
Ma'am, how do I address you?
from yoga?
Sorry?
Yoga.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Yoga. Your question will be, how do I know what to photograph when I reach at that point? I think for me, first thing first is knowing what is that importance or understanding the brief, be it given by client or personal project. And for me, what helps me is narrow down the keywords. For example, like I think it's quite behind, but Michelle's Year Homecoming. So there's a lot of interpretation, but at the time also knowing what is my role. So it really boils down to just now I mentioned, knowing your 5W1H, like what are you doing this for? Who are your client? Maybe at the time, because Getty Entertainment is my client, where I know that clearly Michelle's Year PR team is subscribed to Getty Entertainment, so that's something that I need to deliver. And also narrow down like, okay, Homecoming. And when is this happening? Why is this happening? Because she won an Oscar, then come back, she wants to show an Oscar. So that's where I clearly focus, have a macro shot of everybody reaching out to her and her husband, Jean Todt. And after that, have a macro shot, and then a mid shot, micro shot, and then also for her holding the Oscar. Yeah, so I think overall, I would say is be intentional of how you want to enter things and tackle things. Like I would say that never go in, when you say in terms of like random shots, those come in with a sense of luck as well. But also go in with a clear intention that what are you doing this for, who are you delivering, who are your target audience as well.
For your work, do you, for example, like a photo on the street, stranger, do you ask permissions or for your work, or I mean, other than works that like for Michelle Rio, obviously she'll know she's being photographed, but in cases where it's just a random scene like on the street of a stranger, do you ask permissions, or how do you balance between what's alright publicly or whether it infringe on their personal
Privacy.
what's the right word? But
Yeah.
I hope you get my question.
So when it comes to the ethics of it, like if I photograph children or any subject that looks into the camera, I will just straight away tell them, no, that hi, I'm Annice, what I'm doing, is it okay to be photographed? And when I think editorially, it's fine because it's free press, but then if it's commercially or whatnot, you have to pre-plan that, you have to know that they have the right to know that how is your image being utilized as well, because you don't want to get it circled back, and you have to I always believe that when it comes to like even be it the streets or to a village, I will tell them that where will this visual be used, because you went inside or let's say I come to your house, okay, yeah, I photograph you and it's not commissioned by you, but I need to tell you where will this visual be okay, and then by right basic manners and all, you either have to sign off a consent form, because I come and I took something away from you. So yeah, and you wouldn't want it to be linger outside. So yeah.
My name is Greg, and I'm an illustrator, and I'm a very big fan of your work. I'm just wondering, two questions. First, who are your biggest inspirations? Mm-hmm. And the second one would be, when you're doing the post-production, when you're doing, after you take any photos, I noticed they're very natural colors that you used, and I was just wondering whether there are any times when you actually have to sort of beef up the photo using post-production at any time in your process.
So my inspiration, there's two. So first of all, my first inspiration, as cliche as it sounds, is to be honest, is my parents, because both of them are social worker, and they are a very people person. And then that explains why initially I'm not a people person, because I think when you're young, you felt like you're always not alone. You want your parents to, you want to have your parents to yourself. But every time when it goes to dim sum or anything, eat roti canai or whatnot, nasi lemak, it's always like, hey, you got someone, then someone will come in. So I felt very closeted after that. But I also, I think inspiration comes where you challenge the norm in terms of like, it wasn't your inspiration to begin with, it's something that you don't like, but you learn how to be friend with it. You learn how to embrace it because you can't control it. And then the second one was my favorite photographer. His name is, aside from Annice Lyn, but she's someone I look up to, but I have a favorite, so sorry about that. Which is, you guys can look it up. It's called Platon Antonio. He has a Netflix of him, of how he approached visual. So the reason why I like Platon Antonio is, one thing is about that he taught me as a photographer that you can be good at what you do. Skills is one thing, character is another thing. So you could have the best skill, but so for me, I learned it really ties back to my dad is, last time when in terms of giving bad advice and why I look up to these people. So one thing I learned from my father and Platon Antonio is, my dad once told me that Annice, your ABC, whatever you do in life, your fundamental have to be right. Like just now I say, get your basic right and then allow magic to flow. So getting your fundamental right is as simple as ABC in life. You just need to get your ABC right. The ABC, which is attitude, behavior, and character. So for him, I'm not sure any of you speak Cantonese here. Okay, so he said that, Loi, I will translate to you guys. He's like, Loi, if you don't get your ABC right, your attitude, character, and behavior, mo zong wang ge loi. Yeah. So in translation, it's like, as a person, it's very simple. It's easier said than done, but it's very simple in terms of getting your ABCs right. If not, I don't have a daughter like you. So I think he really holds his fundamental rights standard very high in terms of that. Yeah. And then for the second, in terms of editing, I really respect in terms of when it comes to photography, also understanding that digital now, you have like AI artists, you have fashion photographer and all, where you can do a lot of post-production or landscape photography, you can kind of tweak. But also for me, it's understanding what I do, which is photojournalism. In no way we are allowed to manipulate the photos because we are manipulating the truth. Let's say you will get caught no matter what. Let's say if you're photographing, you and 20 photographers are photographing one particular politician, and then he has a mark here, or maybe he has spinach on his teeth, and you decided to let me tick that up. Then little do you know that once you put your output, which is your responsible, you put out your output, your photo, but then the other 20 of your competitor, they actually have that spinach on your teeth. As simple as that, because it's not the truth anymore. It's like that day, if you have spinach on the politician teeth, yeah, it's there. So it's dated there. So for us as documentary and photojournalists, metadata, which is like, you will see like let's say if a certain politician is holding their handshake and not, that's why we will write caption there to provide a more in-depth contextual information for that. Yeah.
Thank you once again, Annice, for this presentation.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you.